Welcome into the OBR streaming network. This is a brand new edition of All Eyes on Cleveland. My name is Brad Ward, the man next to me. Been missing. We've missed him dearly. Bye-week Case. Follow him on Twitter at Casey_Caseman. Kinnamon. It's been a minute. Casey_Kinnamon. Casey, right? Okay. Wanted to make sure.
Nice to meet you.
Casey. Yeah, good to see you. Good to meet you. Casey, what's going on, big Case dog?
Glad to be back, man. It's been a couple weeks out of the saddle.
Feels like a year's, bro.
Well, what's crazy is it was pretty negative before I went on my little hiatus for my anniversary and such. And then we had a positive week that I couldn't be on, which would have been a celebration. And now we're back. We're right back where we were.
Yeah.
So
you missed Jameis week.
Yeah, I did. Here's the good part. There'll be more Jameis weeks.
Yeah, there will be. There will be. I agree. I believe that to be true. Despite what the Chargers did to him and the Browns. Yeah. Chargers, good defense.
Well, that's the thing, man. Everyone's like, well, this offense sucks, fire everyone. It's like, yeah, do you know they were the number one scoring defense going into the game?
Yeah.
And they figured you out. They did out scheme you. They outplayed you. It feels bad, but it's the previous 6 losses that makes it feel damning. When in reality, this is a whole new operation, and it needs time to get together. And I still feel encouraged that you're going to go into New Orleans and play well. I don't think that it's.
Yeah. We're going to have a nice conversation about the offense tonight, but I do want to I want to say that the Chargers defense, what surprised me the most, Case, light boxes.
Yeah.
They stopped the run with light boxes, and that was it. And then they took away Jameis's first read.
Yeah.
And it was really it was a simple recipe, but they had the personnel to do it. And if you're going to stop the run game completely with a light box, you're in trouble.
No one could explain this to me, and it's never going to make sense. Anytime we play a team that is bad against the run, we just can't run it.
I know.
That was the word on the Chargers. Hey, they've been nasty against the pass, but you can run it on them. 4.8 a carry. And it's been that way all year. But if you think about it, and you played, you know what I mean? You played older hardball one week, and then you play the younger. I think there's probably some notes passed.
Sure.
You see the in-breaking routes were taken away. All the stuff that worked against Baltimore did not work against the Chargers.
No.
Jameis never looked comfortable.
Never. Looked very, very uncomfortable.
But he didn't get gun shy. He just wasn't finding the answers.
Right.
You know what I mean? And in his process, he forced a few throws, and they made him pay for those. They you know what I mean? Whereas the Ravens did not. The Chargers capitalized when Jameis did force the ball, and they played well, man. And you got to give it up to Mentor. You know, the DC and LA. Yeah. Those are young dudes in the secondary. You know, a lot of no names. They played good ball.
They're empowering their young players to take responsibility in that defense, and that looks like a really good defense. And we'll see as they proceed. But some good players I never even really have heard of played well. You know what I mean? So interesting there. So we got a lot to talk about tonight, Case, because we missed a lot. But first of all, if you're over on Twitter, hop over to youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report. Hit like and subscribe. Do all the things, as Casey would say, down below. Chat, what is up, chat? Me and you, we're good. Are we good? Are we good, chat, after last night? I hope so. And good to see you back here tonight. And yes, Twitter is hellscape. So I agree with you, Fumble. But yeah, good to see you guys back in the chat tonight. And we are Overlord. I don't know about that, but I hope we're good after last night's. It was a good conversation, I guess. Yeah, good. It had to be had. And we're back here, though. All Eyes on Cleveland, all about the fun, all about the Keeping it light, we're going to talk some football. First and foremost, you talked to me, Casey, about a little bit today when we were texting just for a minute about the AB presser, and that your takeaways were different from, all the everybody else. And I agree with you. What were your takeaways?
Well, I get frustrated because people put so much weight into pressers, and it's like this regime in particular, they don't give you really anything. They're not going to say anything damning or anything that anyone else has to answer for. And I guess they wanted AB to be like, we're done with Deshaun. He's never going to play again. He's never going to come out and say those things. But it's what he didn't say that like leads me to believe they see what we see. They see the end is near, and they very non-committal. Anytime asked about him, he just kept referencing the injury, and we're going to worry about getting him healthy. Then everything else is on the other side of that. Whereas at this time last year, same questions came up, and he said, once Deshaun is healthy, he is our starting quarterback. And that didn't get said. They asked him that, and he's like, we look, it's the injury, we'll get him healthy and everything. He just kept pushing it over. And it reminded me of 2021 when it came to the Baker questions, because they gave
really similar.
In these settings, they kept giving him support. You were behind him. He's our guy. We're going to, we're working through things. But in the reality, what were they doing? And they admitted it too later. In November of that year, they were doing work on Deshaun Watson. They were already looking at contingency plans.
Yeah.
So they're not going to tell you that, but they see what we see, the writings on the wall. They're not going to even talk about him playing at all. They're going to just use that injury as a reason not to talk about the playing situation. And they're going to keep moving things in the background and trying to get set up for the future, because it is what it is, man. They took a swing and it didn't work, but they can't come out while the dude's still on the roster and be like, yeah, it's over. Like, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I wish he would have, and we talked a little bit, I wish he would have been a little bit like, he had an opportunity at the beginning of the presser where he could have been a little candid, like when they asked him about the overarching, like the trade didn't work. And he could have been like, yeah, we're all a little disappointed with how things have gone to this.
Yes.
Like, you could have started to ease that in, because at some point they're going to have to eat it.
It's just going to be a hard Band-Aid rip. They're just going to be like, all of a sudden, here's your new quarterback.
Yeah. So I agree with you, though. The word of the most impactful thing I took away from the press conference was that he was visibly non-committal to Watson in the number of questions he was asked about it, and they kept coming at him about it, and he remained non-committal throughout. And I think that bodes well for those of us that don't want to see him on the field ever again in orange and brown. So
100% agreed, man. And it's a weird situation, because of course they're going to grill him on it. It's the big black cloud that hangs over everything that happens right now. And even if you would have just taken the first year, I don't know if they make that same move. And that's before this terrible play. And it's just, I don't think they understood the weight that it would bring to the fan base, to the perception of the league, because they were one of 12 teams that inquired, one of like 4 or 5 teams that had their trade package approved. Like, several teams took a lot of steps to get close to that, but because they're the ones that did what they did and guaranteed the contract, just the negative heat that's surrounded it, and Pete said it, man. The dude's an energy vampire, and he don't have to do anything or say anything. His presence alone is enough to just suck all the good energy out of the room.
And that happened over time too. Like, I don't feel like that was like that when he walked into Berea.
No, there was an excitement.
It happened over time, and the crazy thing is, it's like, I don't think the NFL cares that much about what he's done on or off the field. They have like a code between players, teams. They don't really care, I don't think. But like, the fans care. But then when he's terrible, or he's not good, or he's hurt, and then he's all-time bad this year, and you've had to swallow the dilemma, and you've got your coach lying to you about him.
Hurt.
Being the best, option to play. All of that combined just leads you to a really, really negative place. I don't want to go back there because we're past that now and we're living in a better world with Jameis. I want to talk a lot tonight about, phases of this, right? There's a couple phases, and I've wrote about it, and we talked about it a lot last night. And a lot of people want to tear this thing down and blow it up, but I would call it a pivot or a soft adjustment, relaunch, whatever you want. It's not a tear down. It's not a rebuild. They're not going to do it. They just won't do it. And it's because they're still going to have cap money to spend. They're still going to they have a plethora of draft capital now. And they believe, whether you or believe it or not, I happen to believe they have a good young core still in place.
Yeah, I used the word that's been coming up with me recently has been retool. There are several things that need retooled. You need to revise this offensive line. There's a lot of things you need to do, but it's not a rebuild. That's crazy talk.
Yeah,
you got your cornerstones. You're not moving off your cornerstones.
Exactly. And I don't know why you want to go back to that anyways. Like you said it in a tweet I saw you write. A lot of people must have really loved, what was it? One win.
They missed it. They missed that suffering.
I don't know why people want to go back to that when you don't have to.
Here's the thing, and no one's coming out and saying this, but when they're saying blow it up or fire this guy, they're saying somebody needs to pay for my pain. They feel wrong. They feel they've been wronged as a fan base, or a fan in particular, and they need someone to pay for that, for them to feel better about the situation.
What am I looking at? Look at the number of free agents on the roster come next league year. Are you calling me a liar, Drew? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, no, they actually will have cap space.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of players that don't have guaranteed money next year.
Sure.
That's kind of like where it allows them wiggle room here to figure out over these last 8 games who's in the boat, who's going to be rowing in the same direction, and that's how we're going to roll in the next year.
Nobody believes this. This isn't true. All right, so there's been a lot made about like what DePodesta does. Like this got asked during the press conference, Casey, and Ken has been talking about it a lot in the morning. Like, we don't know what he does. They don't even tell us what this guy. I believe I know what he does. I'm going to tell you what I think he does. Okay. We know, for example, he came up with the guardrails, right? Mm-hmm. Those were a product of DePodesta. He does stuff like this, right? So you're a chief strategy officer. You understand the vision, like a long-term vision. If we're talking about a company, a football team, I don't know. No, I don't believe, Mary Kay, I don't believe there's 5 people making decisions. I don't. I believe it's Barry and Stefanski. I do. I think you're wrong. I don't believe that at all. Sorry. There's not 5 people making the plan. I don't believe Vrabel has anything to do with the long-term plan at all.
Vrabel's there learning. He's prepping for his next job.
I know you're saying this, and I maybe Mary Kay said that is what you're saying, but I don't believe that. I believe that Barry and Stefanski have the majority of the say, and it's pretty split. So, to be honest, Foxy Jane, I'm not saying she lies, but I don't know that she's always correct. I don't take what she says as, you can find the quote all you want. I just don't take what she says as the gospel.
Vrabel's there soaking up stuff, learning how to do front office stuff. He's preparing for his next job. He's using this as a springboard for his next job. He's not a decision maker. DePodesta does set up the guardrails. He's chief strategy officer. Do I believe he's a sounding board for ideas? I do. I believe
Sure.
that things do get ran past his desk, whether they think it's a good idea. And I think that goes for any major decision. And that's people get mad at the word analytics because they want to get the nerds out of their game. But like it's gathering as much information as possible so you can make the best decision possible. And you know what I mean? That's part of what he is. But
Yeah,
this
he's
Moneyball
about
stuff's crazy to me because Moneyball is about not spending money. That ain't what this is
no, that
at
ain't this.
all.
So yeah, Vrabel has nothing to do with the long-term decision making. I feel confident in saying that. You know, De Podesta is about the process, right?
Mhm.
So, like for example, the guardrails is a way to keep your vision on that long-term goal that they're trying to accomplish, and he puts that process into place. That's what they do. It's about packaging analytics and putting together processes that keep you focused on the long term. Do I think that he is making personnel decisions, like individually saying we should take this player? No, I don't. I think that they might use him as a sounding board, as you said, because he's a smart guy. But his job is basically to, he has nothing to do with salary cap. He has nothing to do with any of that. He basically is to come up with processes that will streamline what they're doing and keep them directed towards the long-term goal, which is success.
Mhm.
So, and that may change. What are the guardrails? The guardrails are the draft guardrails. Do you know them, Case? Their age.
I mean, it's draft
They're
young.
not. It's a guideline. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
guideline they use
and
in
it's the reason
drafting.
you got Miles and Njoku at 29 looking at a third contract still in the physical prime, and most people don't get that.
Exactly.
It's because you did that and you identify your talent early and who you're going to keep, and you don't overpay for your own talent, you don't overpay for free agents, and it's about using harvesting your own depth, so you're not paying for depth. You know what I mean? That's all part of the guardrails, and a lot of it's good. A lot of that's like good process.
It is good.
It doesn't mean it
Yeah.
always yields good results. Sometimes you
No.
overvalue your own roster, and you think that your depth is sufficient enough, and then it gets super tested, and you're like, okay, we should have paid someone to come in and do this, but no
So
one's 100%, man.
yeah. So if you're a subscriber at the OBR, Jack does a really good job with this stuff of actually updating it every year because it has changed, right? So
Well, as your organization changes, it needs to evolve as well.
it has
You
to
know what I
evolve
mean?
as well. As you become more competitive, the age changes and so forth and so on.
Mhm.
But the idea here is that early in the rounds 1 and 2, the ideal age is 22 or less, right? And usually younger. So you want to draft younger. Rounds 3 through 6, 22 and a half or less. And then as you get later in the draft, they become more flexible with those ages that we've seen. The other part of this is the RAS score, right?
Mhm.
Your ideal RAS score is 8 or higher in rounds 1 and 2. And like I said, these aren't exact rules, but they are a guide to get you to a place where, you tend to get younger players so you can get them in a second contract. And we've seen this happen with a lot of guys on the roster because they were drafted young, right? So, I think that I think the guardrails are a good thing, and they have adjusted as the team has become more competitive. Anyways, so the what was I talking? Okay, best way to move forward out of this thing is what I wanted to talk about today. I want to talk about how they get in phases, Casey. There's a phase of 8 weeks of the rest of this regular season.
Mhm.
And then you're going to have your early off-season phase. You're going to have your off-season, your draft and free agency, and then you're going to be into 2025. And they fully believe, once again, whether you do or not at home, they fully believe they can compete in 2025.
Yeah.
The key here is finding that quarterback. That's number one. But I want to ask you a question first, and I think this is a big part of the first phase, and you can tell me what you think is a big part of the second phase. I don't know if this offense is it, brother.
Yeah.
So you brought in Ken Dorsey for Deshaun Watson, right? And you put in this offense, and it's not, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Stefanski mixed in now, right? It's a hybrid of both, but there's
Yeah.
still a lot of Dorsey influence. Would you agree?
Yeah, but as the last 2 weeks, it's blended way closer to a Stefanski offense than
Sure.
we don't even know what we were looking at the first 7 weeks because of the trigger man. We had no idea. Like, it's hard to even judge what that disjointed mess was that we called offense. But and this goes back to my previous thought, man. Like, I know nothing against Dorsey. Like, I didn't want Dorsey. I wanted Clint Kubiak just because I wanted someone that understood what Kevin wants to do and can build on it and build from it instead of building from nothing.
They wanted to go full
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien, Houston.
Yeah.
Didn't it feel like that?
Then why don't you go get Bill O'Brien?
Well, but you get what I'm saying, though,
Yeah,
right?
no, they did. No, they
too much.
They were like, okay, we'll just tear the offense down to the studs and build around this guy. But all the eggs are in that basket. Problem is, when things go off the rails, Stefanski can't fix that.
Right.
He can fix what he does. He can't fix the thing that he didn't. I don't know, man. To me, that was bad process, and I don't know where the urging came to do that. I get the process though, because you invested in this dude, and you got to see if it works. But now we're in a spot, and I think that that's also the reason the play calling got handed to Dorsey, because now he's being evaluated for the rest of the season. And I think there's a very strong possibility Ken Dorsey is not here in 2025.
Foxy Jane, you can talk about it all you want. Absolutely. I disagree. I think that I don't know, Casey, what do you think? Do you